Across most cultures, menstruation is treated as a secret. It is a biological process to be hidden, sanitized, or labeled as impure. But high on Neelatal Hill in Assam, the Kamakhya temple flips that script. Here, the cycle is celebrated as the physical engine of life. Every June, this reverence reaches its peak during the Ambubachi Mela. For 3 full days, the temple doors are locked shut because the presiding goddess is believed to be menstruating, drawing millions of devotees to wait outside in intense devotion. Inside the dark inner sanctum, you won't find a traditional statue or idol. Instead, there is a natural stone formation shaped like a yoni or vulva. It sits submerged in the dark, fed continuously by a natural underground spring that has no identifiable source. When the doors finally reopen on the 4th day, the white cloth laid over the stone is found soaked in red. Small pieces of this cloth are handed out to the massive crowds as sacred prasadam, while the water of the nearby Brahmaputra river is also said to run crimson. You have to wonder whether an event this massive is driven by a divine miracle, an extreme geological anomaly, or a deep cultural metaphor that openly defies global societal norms. To understand why this site commands such power, you have to look at its mythological origins. It begins with the tragic story of the cosmic deity Lord Shiva and his wife Sati. When Sati self-immolated to protest her father's disrespect, Shiva was consumed by a blinding grief. Carrying her lifeless body, he began the Tandav, a destructive cosmic dance that sent shockwaves through the universe, threatening to unmake existence. To stop the destruction and snap Shiva out of his dangerous trance, Lord Vishnu intervened. He hurled his cosmic weapon, the Sudarshan Chakra, dissecting Sati's body to sever Shiva's physical attachment. Sati's body fell to earth in 51 separate pieces. Those impact sounds became highly venerated sites called Shakti Pithas. Her yoni, her womb, struck the earth exactly where Kamakhya stands today, on Neelachal Hill. This impact transformed the hill into the epicenter of the Shakti tradition, dedicated not to a stone image, but to the physical origin of life. While the myth sets the spiritual foundation, modern science offers a parallel explanation for why the local waters turn crimson every June. The geological cross-section of Neelachal Hill reveals soil naturally dense with iron and heavy deposits of cinnabar. Both minerals hold deep red pigments. When heavy June monsoons infiltrate the soil, they wash these red minerals directly into the groundwater, staining the river crimson. But geology has its limits. Even with modern surveying, scientists still cannot explain the continuous, pressurized flow of that specific underground spring feeding the stone without a distinct source. Instead of debunking belief, this unique geological reality provides a physical foundation for the faith. The earth itself mirrors the ancient mythology of a bleeding goddess. That localized energy is what drew practitioners of Vamachara, or left-hand path tantra, to Kamakhya, transforming it into a center for an extreme form of worship. According to local texts, this shift happened after an ancient king named Narakasura grew arrogant enough to try to forcibly marry the goddess. In response to his hubris, the great sage Vashista cursed the land, forcing the goddess's true worship into the shadows of occult practices. You can still see the reality of that shift today. Before doors open for morning devotees, daily animal sacrifices of male beasts must be performed to appease the fierce energies of the site. The temple is also home to the 10 Mahavidyas. These are fierce incarnations of the divine feminine, like Kali and Chinnamasta, who represent the inescapable realities of time, death, and destruction. Because of this association with unyielding power, Kamakhya has long been tied to extreme occultism. Historical lore is filled with alleged human sacrifices, and as recently as June 2019, police discovered a disturbing incident inside the temple complex that echoed those ancient dark rituals. These visceral, bloody elements are not for shock value. When a tradition worships a deity tied to the unfiltered forces of life and death, the rituals reflect that brutal reality. The temple lore contains one final story about exactly what happens when humans try to push past those brutal realities. It involves an ancient priest named Kendu Kalai and the powerful king Naranarayan. The king demanded the priest let him secretly spy on the goddess while she manifested in her true form. The goddess sensed the intrusion, and in her anger she cursed the king, declaring that if anyone from his royal bloodline ever entered the region again, they would face total ruin. As a physical monument, Kamakhya operates as a strict philosophy carved directly into the Assamese hillside. By centering its worship on birth, blood, and sacrifice, the site frames creation as a visceral act. It argues that the beginning of life is rarely neat or polite. It is a process that is inherently raw and powerful. Whether you attribute its mysteries to geological anomalies, extreme tantric devotion, or the literal presence of the divine, Kamakhya strips away all societal pretenses. It forces humanity to confront the precise, uncomfortable truths that the rest of the world desperately tries to hide.